So tonight we have a fun-filled evening filled with all kinds of content and topical information for all of us in the school systems. And we are going to start that off with just a quick overview here of your lead speaker tonight. That is, of course, Dr. Kenneth Roy. He's the Director of Environmental Health and Safety, the Chemical Hygiene Officer, the Designated Asbestos Compliance Coordinator, the PCB Program Coordinator, the Silica Compliance Coordinator, all of this, of course, at Glastonbury Public Schools in Connecticut. And he's wearing his hat that says GPS Safety Officer for us right there. He's also the Chief Science Safety Compliance Advisor and Chief Safety Blogger for the National Science Teaching Association, NSTA, the Safety Compliance Officer for the NSELA Group, which is the National Science Education Leadership Association. He's also the author of 13 science and STEM laboratory safety books and over 800 safety articles, all in professional journals and associations, including NSTA, NSELA, the Council of State Science Supervisors, ITEA, and many more. Dr. Ken was also with Penn State University as a co-researcher and conducted a fascinating study in 2020 on technology education and CTE scientific research study relative to potential laboratory safety issues. Fabulous read, and that is available to all of us here. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Ken. I am, as I indicated earlier, James Palcic. I am the Chief Executive Officer here at Science Safety, and I'm a thought leader and show host of Safer Ed, located online at edcircuit.com. I am formerly the Director of Education, Safety and Compliance for Flynn Scientific and the General Manager for Flynn Scientific Canada. I have authored 3 science and STEM lab safety books for the Council of State Science Supervisors and multiple chemical hygiene plans for schools. I'm also the safety reviewer for the Perimeter Institute for Theoretical Physics, which is a global think tank. And I have been on over 100 podcasts and written multiple articles on science education, safety, and better professional practices across science, STEM, and CTE, many of which you can now find on edcircuit.com. Okay, now that we've got that housekeeping out of the way, let's take a look at what tonight we are going to be discussing. So really, we're looking at risk management across the STEAM disciplines: science, tech, engineering, art, math. We're also going to take a look at some of those current statistics and findings from Dr. Ken's research. We're going to understand the importance of safety hazard analysis and resulting health and safety risk assessments for activity selection. And we'll look at that holistic approach to safety and compliance and making informed decision-making, understanding, of course, that there are lots of parameters and frameworks to help get you there. Okay, Dr. Ken, I'm going to give it over to you. I'm going to let you start, and welcome. We're looking forward to our conversation tonight, Ken.
Thank you, James. Appreciate it. I want to welcome everyone taking time out of your busy days and evenings, depending where you're located geographically, to take part in this, because I'm just going to say this once. Safety needs to be job one in your job. There's no two ways about it. And unfortunately, the things that we find out today, that's not the case. And I really thank James and SSI for promoting these kinds of webinars, because it helps people have a better understanding and, most importantly, raises their level of awareness as to what the needs are and also their liability. So where does safety fit into K-12? Well, the safety solutions from Science Safety Incorporated are thoughtfully designed for K-12 educators, administrators, supervisors, as well as students, to elevate the level of safety awareness, as I mentioned before, across the entire school ecosystem for all the stakeholders. The legal aspect of safety solutions is woven, I love that term, that's great, is woven into the tapestry of existing K-12 management practices across the spectrum of programs in all the schools.
And that is critically important. It does not just apply at the high school level, it applies all the way down into the kindergarten classroom. And some people are unaware of that.
Yes,
Yes.
you're right.
See, we're getting along tonight. This is great.
So far.
That's only slide one.
Next slide.
All right, here we go.
Okay, holistic school district STEAM safety program. Okay, now remember, all right, STEAM, we're talking about science, tech ed, engineering, art, math, whatever, all right? So it's important that, you know, this is, it's not even holistic, but STEAM is spectral. Academically, it's spectral. It covers the whole room from beginning to end, all these disciplines, which is amazing to me, but it's really good that we've evolved, and actually now it's revolutionary what's going on, people adopting these programs. Okay, so start training and awareness. Absolutely. It is a responsibility of the employer under OSHA and Better Professional Safety Practice to provide training. Training is there to help raise the level of awareness relative to safety. What are the protocols? What are the things that the teacher in the classroom or in the laboratory, the supervisor and or the administrator who's observing that teacher and the students in action, very, very critical. And this is not a every 10-year type of activity. It should be minimally annual, if not more. I always in my presentation say, you know what, science, art, whatever, they have monthly meetings. There should be an item in that agenda on safety for every one of those monthly meetings, all right? Even if you just touch upon a particular topic, critical, again, making people aware of things, of what's going on, so they'll have a safer teaching learning experience. Programs and document reviews, absolutely important. Contracts are what I call safety acknowledgement forms. This is a legal piece, not only to advise students what the expectations are behaviorally and the parents or guardians, but it may also help the administration, supervisor, and teacher should there be an accident and you get into legal entanglements. Very critical to make sure that you adopt these. Activity-based risk assessments. You got to know what the hazards and the risks are before you do the activity. Before, not during, not after, or not at all. No, before you do it, right? And there's different ways, and we'll talk about how we do that. Certainly, one of the safety actions resulting from the hazards and resulting risks are personal protective equipment. When do I wear safety glasses with side shields as opposed to indirectly vented chemical splash goggles? There is a difference, all right? And unfortunately, when I do mock OSHA inspections, sometimes I see no use of eye protection for PPE, and they're dealing with hand tools, power tools, they're dealing with chemicals and the like. And you think you're sending your kid to a safe place. Seriously, scary stuff. Materials inventory, safety data sheets. I love what OSHA did, getting involved with the UN program. The current safety data sheets, I think, are much improved over the material safety data sheets. And so kudos to them for doing that. Your facilities, all right, the instructional space. I used to call it laboratories all the time, but you know what? During my experience over the years, I find there's a lot of hands-on and demos being done in just science classroom, not a formal laboratory. This is why I like to refer to things as instructional spaces. So we're talking about certainly, where's the inspection? How do we know things are, is the eye wash? Is it functioning? Is there a shower? And I'm talking about not only in a formal laboratory, but even in a classroom. If you're dealing with hazardous chemicals and the like, you better have an eye wash in that classroom and or a shower, depending what you're doing, right? And appropriate, safe for storage for materials, okay? Remember, you cannot make it safe, you can only make it safer. Right?
I agree.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm pleased that we're in agreement, right? Very, very seriously, Got to have appropriate storage. Absolutely. So this is a great spectral view of things, right? There are many connected legal and practical aspects of a holistic school district safety program that enhance safety. Note, it's not only for the staff and the employees, but it's also certainly for the students. And in the background situation, it's also for the administration and the supervisors, all right? So everyone needs to be part of this, everyone.
Correct.
Holistic approach. Science Safety has developed an integrated strategic approach to your school safety program that involves a customized approach involving appropriate safety qualification training. Again, we talked for number one, training, grade level, discipline, administrators, supervisors, teachers, and students. Digital student, oh, I love this. Digital student acknowledgement form. All right, now right on the computer, you print them out, you give them to the kids, or you can send them electronically. Very important, all right? And then you can manage them with that to reduce liability. Again, I mentioned that before, the lawsuit, because it shows, in fact, that the teacher is concerned about safety and made the students aware, and they're giving testimony to that by signing this, right? Relative to what their responsibilities are in the lab or the classroom, the instructional space relative to safety. Lab safety inspection reporting tools, chemical and equipment inventory management, review of existing chemical hygiene plan, HAZCOM documentation, evaluation of current risk management practices, including PPE and secure chemical storage, hazard analysis, risk assessment, and appropriate safety action. I love those three, they're great. Protocols prior to all planned activities.
And that is exactly what Science Safety does. That is the core focus, with not much outside of that. That is exactly what we do 24 hours a day.
Okay, Science Safety Holistic Training and Solutions, safety qualification on demand training. All right, science and STEM teachers, STEAM, and student training, administrative training, CT. You know what, let me make one note about administrative training. It's anemic. Let me put it that way. And I see this every time that I go into a school, all right? The teachers may be trained, the administrators are. I had a case where the chemistry teacher went to the administrator, the building administrator. He was noticing that his chem lab, every time they did a lab, it stunk. I mean, there was particulate in the air. You could see, it looks like smog coming down from Canada into North America. Oh, I'm sorry. I got carried away there. But no, seriously. And so the teacher goes and tells the principal. Here's the principal's response. Well, it's a chem lab. It's supposed to smell. Excuse me? This is a trained administrator on safety. It is supposed to smell? Give me a flippin' break. I can't even believe I heard it, but I did. CTE teacher and student training, mainstream teacher and annual safety compliance training. This is just great stuff. And a lot of school districts, I go in, oh, have you done the training according to the lab standard? Well, yeah, we did it 10 years ago. Hello? No, that doesn't cut it. That doesn't cut it at all. Here you go, right here, on-demand training. No excuse. No excuse. All right. Okay, safety inspections, visual safety inspection system. BSA annual physical inspections and report generation requirements. Helps CHOs, chemical hygiene officers, manage their legal obligations, and there are legal obligations. Safety contract management or acknowledgement form achieved. Requirement for school districts to maintain this database until the student reaches 18, 20 years old. Now, I just want to make a footnote there. It does depend on, at least in the states, it does depend on what the regulations are in a particular state. Here in the state of Connecticut, a parent can only sue if a kid gets hurt up to 3 years after the incident. 3 years, that's it. You won't see the lawyer after 3 years because too bad you missed it. There's only a window. In other states, it's just this, 18 to 21. So you need to check that out. In general, it is 18 to 21, but in some states it does differ. And inventory management, chemical inventory management, risk analysis solution having an accurate chemical inventory. Oh, gee. And when's the last time you did the inventory? Oh, well, let's see, the lab standard that came in 1991. Why is the date on your inventory 1991? That's the last time you did it? Was the first time you required it? Please help me understand. Help me understand. Having an accurate chemical inventory, accurate means up to date with GHS labels. Accompanied SDS is important, obviously, and is a legal requirement, again, under OSHA. That's federal OSHA. I'm sure if you have a state-approved plan, it's the same thing. Department of Labor, if they don't have OSHA in general, I'm sure, again, because of better professional safety practice, that's right up there with the legal requirement. So the bottom is you got to do it. That's the bottom line.
Exactly right.
Well, thank you.
Now, Ken, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about this wonderful report, this research that was conducted.
Well, it was interesting. We sent out surveys and unbelievably, we've got almost not far from 1,000 responses nationwide in the United States. So we were very, very pleased, and we thought it had a lot of credibility, most certainly. I just with Dr. Tyler Love, who was with Penn State University at that point. And actually, there's been a lot of spin-offs from this. We've written a number of over a dozen journal articles. We've also done a number of trainings, webinars like this for school district and even state organizations and the like. It is much more, but the findings, but the usual thing, you know, when you do research, there's findings, but then there's some unanswered questions that, you know, statements that people make, well, maybe we need to do more research further on, which I'm sure we probably will do. Data analysis from national study, there's a name of it right there. Complete in 2020, investigating safety in STEM and CTE laboratories. Now remember, STEM does involve more than CTE or tech ed, math. It involves science also. For you people with science out there, listen to this. This is really important. 80% of science and STEM teachers reported having one injury in the past year. Right? That's a lot of injuries. That is a devil of a lot of injuries. We couldn't even believe that statistic when we saw it. 51% of the schools nationally have had an injury or litigation. Oh, yeah, and our schools are safe? Oh, yeah, sending your kids to a safe place. 35% of teachers of STEM and CTE did not have any formalized safety training. Say what? 35%? 35% of teachers of STEM had no form. Well, excuse me. I thought OSHA said under the standard that the employer was required to provide safety training. It's me. You know, everything's hunky-dory. You know, they have other things that they need to do, supposedly, until they get a visit from OSHA. Then they scramble. They scramble like you can't believe. I mean, I've seen it, all right? That's sometimes when I get called to come in to train them quick, which is too late. But completing formalized safety training can reduce, very nice. Formalized safety training can reduce accidents by 51%. That's technically over half statistically, which, yeah, I'll take it. Absolutely, I'll take it.
That's huge. That's enormous.
Yeah, it is. It is. Which means obviously training has an impact.
Absolutely. And as a footnote, as you would say, that statistic, 35% of teachers did not have any formalized safety training. I think with the provisional teachers in schools right now, that's probably even higher.
And even more scary are the subs, because they can't get certified teachers, be they
right. That's what, yeah, exactly.
Be they neophytes, you know, provisional or not. And I'm seeing this, you know, I used to think that science labs were the big problem. Let me tell you, the stuff I see in STEM and STEAM labs, scary, just scary. They can't get enough tech ed engineering teachers, so they'll go to the science. Oh, I'm sure you must have worked with your dad in the garage when you were a kid. You must know how to run power tools. Go ahead and run those tools and the power tools, hand tools in the STEM and STEAM lab. That's a quote. That's a
Frightening.
quote that I heard.
Right. Yes.
I mean, am I on a different planet? Am I really here?
Well, you are in Connecticut.
Sometimes it is a different. Oh, never mind. All right. So, additionally, 8 factors correlated with increased accident occurrence and 17 reduced accidents occurrences. Okay. Classes with over 24 students. Over 24 students were 48%. That's almost half likely to have an accident occur. It's called overcrowded. Okay, it's called you're surpassing the occupancy. You go in an auditorium, per order of the state fire marshal, occupancy load limit, 500 people. You have the same thing for laboratories. Not 500, but I mean, you have occupancy loads, all right? You have occupancy load. And that's not a recommendation, which I've heard through the lips of many an administrator. Not a recommendation. That's law. That is law. And actually, that's the basis of a lot of the work that I do. And I usually hear from the union in the school, and I'll go, oh my God, how many kids do you have in that lab? And I'm looking in the lab. I mean, they're falling over each other. God forbid they have an accident. Good luck getting out alive. So it's not going to happen, right? It's just craziness. And I'll meet with the fire marshal. I said, I'm sure you're aware of the NFPA, that fire codes, life safety code 101. And I'll hear, the what? I love the fire people. Don't misunderstand me. But some of them, and there's a huge number of standards that they have, but sometimes they are unaware of the occupancy load for laboratories. And you have to kind of remind them or show them where it is. Well, once they see it, they go back and they see the superintendent of schools, right? CEO. And it's, look, bud, you got a problem, and I'm going to and they have the authority to fine a superintendent of school over this, and they can close down a laboratory if they want. All right, and
they absolutely can, and that's
I've seen this happen, and rightfully so. I mean, and labs are designed. All right, you see, you get the prints or whatever that's available. The architects didn't. More times than not probably over 90%, it provides the occupancy load. What is the occupancy limit for that laboratory? If you don't know, ask your facilities person for the prints.
Absolutely.
Take a look. And if you don't know that, invite your best friend, the local fire marshal, to come in to tell you what the occupancy load is for that particular laboratory. You're the one that's in charge for safety. You're the one that's going to be hit legally more than the administrator, right? So you need to know, though it will be shared liability, I might add.
Dr. Ken, am I able to interject and answer a question that came in on the chat?
Let me just do one more thing in red here.
For you, I will allow it.
Oh, gee. Thank you so much. Teachers with comprehensive safety training were 49% less likely to have an accident occur. Right? There it is again. Train them. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're absolutely right about training. It's the single biggest contributor to reducing liability and increasing awareness. The question was, how can I find an occupancy load? And the answer is, and I'll type it in the chat, it's NFPA occupancy load, NFPA 45, which is 50 net square feet per occupant in a laboratory, correct?
Actually, it's in NFPA Life Safety Code 101.
101. My apologies. I see. That's why
listen, he was just testing me. Trust me, he really knew. He was just testing me, which I love about the guy. He's great. He wants to make sure I'm on the straight and narrow here.
Perfect.
No, seriously, yeah. NFPA Life Safety Code 101. It's all about section in there, all about the occupancy load. And it has all restaurants and stuff, but it does have laboratories and also classrooms. It's interesting. A regular classroom, a math classroom, it's 20 square feet net. You subtract out the furniture, 20 square feet. For a lab, 50. wait a minute, 20 for a math class? Well, why is it so high? Because they want everybody to get out alive, obviously. All right, it's not as anywhere near as safe as a math class would be. Okay, so occupancy load is absolutely critical. You need to have room.
Yep, I just punched it in our chat box.
Okay. Yeah, I see it. I see it. Thank you. Okay, we're good.
I made sure to copy it over so you saw it. All right. Sometimes I don't do that. I just send it to the audience.
Okay, hold on.
Okay,
Okay.
I got it. Now this is a James one. This is one of mine right here, and I love this.
Oh,
The
gee,
combined goal.
you're going to quote yourself. I love it.
I'm quoting myself. I mean, this is great. The future of education is human-led, purpose-driven, and technology augmented. By providing those safer instructional sites for students to learn, we can help them achieve success and encourage them along their trajectory into post-secondary and ultimately the workplace. Really, school
It's not
is
just
the
for
foundation.
that's
Right.
beautiful, because it's not just for the here and now. It's
Correct.
also
It's a
for the future
continuum. It's
at
a
the work
trajectory.
site. Absolutely, that's good.
And that is exactly what we do here at Science Safety when we meet with people, do needs assessments, understand what they have, and look for ways to enhance what they have based on what their needs are.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, Ken, you're gonna have fun with this one.
Oh, one of my favorites. Yes. Okay, now let's take a look. Next few slides are great. Take a look at this image from a safety perspective. Okay, from a safety perspective. Now, first of all, let's talk about personal protective equipment. All right, personal protective equipment. Obviously, they're working with something chemically. There's a reaction going on. It's gassing off, fizzing out, this, that, whatever. I can guarantee that if that ends in somebody's eye, it could potentially blind them. Now, the bad news is, all right, you've got to have the appropriate type of eye protection. Safety glasses doesn't cut it. You will notice it. See the eyebrows on the student? All right. It's an opening, it's just like on my glasses here, right? There's an opening here. Little, not too bad on the cheek sides, but the point here is you're supposed to have indirectly vented chemical splash goggles. In other words, this all the way around here is closed off. So if there's
Correct.
a splash, nothing gets in. Nothing gets in, right? Well, this isn't happening. And if I may be wrong, and it's not totally in focus, I don't know, but it looks like the teacher may just have prescription glasses. I may be wrong, but it looks like it. But I've seen that. The teacher thinks, oh, you know, they've got bionic eyes. They can get them replaced. They don't have to worry about eye protection. Nah, just the kids. Oh, excuse me. You're the leader. You're the leader of the pack. You need to
Yeah.
the appropriate behavior. Nothing's going on with it. I'll tell you, not good, not good. The other thing is, again, don't know exactly what they're playing with, but any type of chemical reaction, you should have on protection for your hands. You should have nitrile or vinyl gloves. No latex, please. No latex. All right. You just don't know who's got the allergies and the like. And I'm talking employees and students. Right. Aprons certainly should cover up the kids' clothes. Make sure. And if I was that student, I wouldn't allow the student to get that close, because it's all the more the risk of exposure on the skin and the like. So
I'd also like to see a label on there myself as to what that is. That's
well,
just me.
it's probably on the other side of it. We can't see the backside. No, he's right. I'm only kidding.
You're very generous today.
This is true. No, I agree. Yeah, most certainly. Anything, any material that you have in a container, in a laboratory, I don't care if it's water, all right, must have a label on it. Must have a label. You need to know what you're dealing with. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, another favorite of mine. Now, this is like a repeat. At least they have on lab coats, though they're unbuttoned, I might add. No hand protection. And look, they're all smiling and everything in their safety glasses. Come on, seriously? I mean, many states have goggle statutes. Statute? That's a real big time law. Okay. And of course, they're there, and I can guarantee you, don't if the teacher has anything. I mean, this is just craziness, all right? It's just craziness.
And
Any
the
kind of liquid hazardous chemical, you must have on indirectly vented chemical splash goggles. For physical hazards, on the other hand, if you're dealing, let's say in a physics lab, you're doing slinkies, you still need to have eye protection, but you can have safety glasses. If you're using hand tools in a STEAM lab or STEM lab, all right, you must have on eye protection. Same thing, either safety glasses, but you can also wear the goggles, most certainly, right? So those are kind of projectiles. Oh, I love it. They're out doing rocketry out in the field. Oh yeah, yeah. Nobody's got any on. Not good, not good. Safety glasses or goggles. So there you have it.
now,
No
Ken, I would
labels,
also say
no
the long
labels,
hair,
no
not
labels.
tied. Yep, no labels,
Oh.
no hair tied back. You could see the ringlets hanging down.
The lady on the right, yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
and I especially enjoy the gentleman holding on to something, leaning forward, because that's a safe practice as well.
Like I said in the last one, you know, you need to distance yourself at least an arm's length from what's going, especially with an audience like this.
Right.
You know, oh, let me see. Yeah, let me see is going to be the last time they see.
Sad.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Ken, great
Wow.
question.
One great. You have another question?
No.
Oh, this. Oh, okay. One grade has more accidents. Which grade level from K through 12 has the most accidents? Is it an elementary, middle, or high school grade? Why do you believe there's a difference in hazards and risks in one grade level more than the others? Knowing the answer, what will you do differently to prevent being part of this preventable statistic?
Well, Ken, is there one grade that has more accidents than others?
Obviously, if we're bringing it up.
Well, clearly. And Ken, here it is. For those, we're just going to do a TikTok here and make them wait till the very end. No, we'll show them now. We'll do it right now. There it is.
Well, very interesting. Grade 9. Grade 9, 70% of lab accidents and injuries. 70%! Unbelievable. Unbelievable. However, when you think about it, grade 9 tends to be big time transition, number one, for
Correct.
students. Not only physically, but developmentally. Okay. So it tends to start more in middle school these days, but it really blossoms in grade 9. If I could use that term. Also, they're at the bottom of the totem pole. All right. And they're trying to prove things. So they'll get recognized. You know, there's a lot of, also, it also depends on the type of coursework that's going on. The middle school might not have done next to what they should have been doing for laboratory safety and the like. And all of a sudden, the teachers assuming that they've had all of these protocols in place and they've been following it and they have the right behaviors in many, and I see it directly, they do not, so they're more susceptible to the possibilities of having accidents. So I can see that this would be a very valid statistic.
Yes, and that's also the year where most of them have access to materials, apparatus, equipment that they were never exposed to before. So
That's what I was saying. At the middle school, they haven't had those kinds of experiences.
Everything is all new there.
Yeah. It's a lot of pressure on a 9th grader.
So knowing this, if I was a 9th grade teacher, I would put extra emphasis on modeling those proper safety behaviors, safety techniques, reinforcing it, doing all of that, as well as the grade 7 and 8 teachers prior, to help set a solid foundation of elevated safety awareness for their students.
And it is amazing, some of the teachers, and again, I've heard this out of teachers about the fact there was a lawsuit, actually it was a middle school, not a high school. And the teacher said, well, you know, I really don't have to go over much safety because they've already had all this safety stuff in the past few years when they were in middle school. And well, there was a middle school teacher that had the kids, life science, they were going to do dissections. And they were going to use, a scalpel. Sharp, huh? Anyways, the teacher was not so sharp because the teacher really did not go over anything relative to protocols, how you use a scalpel safety wise. What's a safer way to do it? And kid, in one day, all right, three kids got cut. One of them was very severe, almost cut his thumb off. Just unbelievable. Well, the parents sued. Okay, this is all on the internet, by the way. And a parent sued, and the judge says to the teacher, "So why didn't you review the safety protocols?" Teacher response, "Well, I know myself that the last 3 grades that kids were trained to use scalpels, so I really didn't feel I needed to repeat all this stuff." She just hung herself. So seriously, just hung herself, just put herself right out there to dry. Now, how can you make that statement? You know what? Sometimes, as soon as summer comes, they come. And I had kids, sometimes I have for chemistry, then I taught physics the next year. And I'd start reviewing in the physics some of the standards. And the kids are like, "Huh? I don't remember this." I said, "Excuse me, you were in my class that year? Trust me, we went over this. Don't tell me we didn't cover it." I mean, so anecdotally, I can tell you, this is what happens. Crazy. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now, AAA, driving home safety.
Love it.
Get it? AAA, driving home. Well, anyway, I digress. AAA method requires teachers to perform a potential, doesn't mean it's going to happen, potential hazard analysis before each lab demonstration as mandated by standard NFPA 45, then conduct the resulting health and safety risk assessment. In other words, if I have these hazards, what are the potential risks? And take the best possible safety action. In order to perform this 3-step approach, the AAA approach, to understanding and evaluating potential safety hazards, you must follow these 3 steps sequentially, which are
very, very important to do it in sequence. Very important.
Yes, I would say so. Okay, hazard analysis. You try to determine what are the potential hazards, what potentially could happen in this kind of a situation. Determine potential physical, and again, there's basically 3 kinds of hazards: physical hazard, chemical hazard, and biological hazard. All right, though there are some renegades out there that think there are 4 or 5. But anyway, safety has outlined the SDS in tandem with teacher experience. Okay. Safety notes from hands-on lab activity, use of chemical hygiene plan, trusted safety authorities like Science Safety Incorporated and others, right? You do this, you figure out, you analyze, you go through in your mind exactly what you plan on doing and what you see as the potential hazards. Now, once you do that, you want to know, well, geez, as a result of these hazards, what could be the safety and health risks associated with it? So you make use of the SDS, for example, in the sections are listed there, the highlight information for chemical issues, for safer handling, such as potential hazards like fire safety and accidental spill information, stability, toxicological information. There are many more. But the point is, what are the risks that you and or the, now remember, the kids are doing it, you're also potentially exposed to the risk. And the bottom line at the end, what safety action do you take to make sure that it's safer? Determine the appropriate safety action based on the types of potential safety hazards and resulting health and safety risks. The top 3 actions to consider based on OSHA's hazard prevention control include engineering controls, administrative controls, and personal protective equipment. This is how you're going to address this safety-wise to make it safer for both employee, the teacher, special ed, paras, whatever, and the students.
And if anyone wants further information on that, there's a wonderful paper that Dr. Ken wrote located at that QR code on the screen right there. You can capture that with your camera on your phone, and it will link you directly through to Dr. Ken's paper on hazard analysis, risk assessment, and safety actions.
Unfortunately, it's electronic. I won't be able to sign it. Well, whatever. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Okay. Are you aware of what to look for when students or staff members bring an outline of their inquiry-based activity? You need to evaluate the educational no, here's this is the bottom line. This is the bottom line with all this stuff. Anything that you're doing in the laboratory, anything that you're doing out in the field, anything that you assign them to do at home, right? You need to evaluate the educational value of the activity or items used against the potential safety hazards and resulting health and safety risks associated with it. Boy, this says volumes, literally, this says volumes. And unfortunately, a lot of educators, you know, they think, oh, well, educate, oh yeah, and it's cool. Kids get all excited when they see this, you know, oh yeah, woo, you know, fire, flames, smoke, you know, the whole thing. Yeah, well, we'll deal with safety there somehow. No. Looking at the procedures and suggested materials, equipment, possible chemicals or biological specimens, there are a handful of red flag items or processes that you should recognize and prevent students from continuing on in their planned pursuit of knowledge. Let's look at how to recognize potential hazards and resulting health and safety risks in your school's instructional space.
Yes. Three, the big three. There they are.
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, gee, there's an empty space down. Oh, wait a minute. Moving right along.
I'll fill that space, don't worry.
Oh, I'm sure. Being able to identify potential safety hazards resulting in health and safety risks in STEAM programs. And remember, science is part of this, as is tech ed, engineering, art, math, can often be achieved by a combination of appropriate safety training and levels of awareness. Knowing what to look for is critical. By following the proper procedures and safer operating procedures in the lab or classroom, instructional space, I love it, as well as recognizing possible sources of potential safety hazards and resulting health and safety risks, you can prevent the majority of possible accidents and injury. Remember, you can't necessarily prevent them all, but you can make it safer and take care of most of them. If uncertain, ask. If you don't, you know, if you do all of this and you still ask somebody who's been in the field for a while, who's done it, go to a resource, whatever. Always perform potential hazard analysis, risk assessment, and take appropriate safety action prior. Again, we repeated this several times, prior to any plan. Wouldn't want you doing something and in the middle of it, oh, gee, I guess this could be a hazard or a risk. No, you should have done that before you started it. And over here's a nice chart. And it's so true to form. Chemical hazard, biological hazards, and physical hazards. So there you have it. Oh, by the way, under physical hazard, you could also have electrical in there. I think that I
really,
I would add that. Right,
and
under slips, trips, falls, projectiles, equipment, apparatus, machinery, noise, electricity. There you go. Moving right along.
Fair enough. And the one other comment I would make on this particular slide is this. Whenever an educator performs a demonstration for entertainment purposes only is when most safety accidents and injuries occur.
Absolutely.
Everything that happens in that laboratory or instructional space should be tied to the curriculum and be approved. That goes without saying, but I have to say it because that's the way of the world right now.
And let me add one other thing. If you have a speaker come in who's going to do an activity, please make sure you vet what that person's going to do. You want to know specifically what they're going to do, and you want to know what safety hazards are and resulting health and safety risks and what safety actions they're going to take.
Correct.
If you don't want any issues, you don't want any lawsuits or anything. And let me tell you, there have been some ugly things that have happened just from speakers coming in and the teacher never bothered checking. Just terrible types of things that I'm aware of. Okay.
Okay, that's a wonderful transition to the next slide.
These items have a greater inherent risk than educational utility. Right? I'm not going to read all these, but again, this is a great list. And oh, gee, body fluids. Let's see. I still find some teachers that want to do, oh, don't worry about just be careful. You've got gloves on you. Take a little bit of your blood, and we're going to do help. All right, no. I still find every once in a while some doing urine tests.
Mhm.
Yeah, seriously, yep. Or they'll go down a hall and they'll tell the kids, all right, I want you to go into the lavatory and collect here's a petri plate with agar on it. I want you to just take some samples around the toilet bowl or the urine or whatever. Yeah. Okay, bring it back and we're gonna take care of that, and we're gonna have the growth of the colonies. Then you can make slides and well, let's start with, have you ever heard of your own MRSA?
Right.
Come on, are you serious? Never, ever, please, never, ever grow bacteria that you've sampled from your school or anywhere. Only use commercial stuff that you know exactly what it is. Please. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you nailed it. I mean, people wouldn't do that in their own home kitchen.
Of course not.
They wouldn't. So if you wouldn't do it there, what makes you think it's safer to do it in the laboratory?
But again, this is a great list, and please share it. If you're an administrator, supervisor watching this, please make sure you share this because this is really important. AAA Big Six actions. Number 1, review SDS for safety concerns, safety data sheet. Identify any areas of potential safety hazards and resulting risks, including handling, storage, flammability, other pertinent items. Review all equipment, materials, apparatus, tools, machinery, guarding, very important. I couldn't tell you, sometimes I go into these STEM labs, I see a table saw, no guard, or one that's so chewed up, and I'll say, excuse me, are you allowing students? Well, yeah, I have one on order. I'm happy for you. Who knows when it's going to show up? You're allowing students to use this? No, you don't do that. Shut it down and put signage. All right, shut it down and put signage. All right, review procedures and material concentration, timing, sequence, waste management, and emergency procedures. If you've not performed the activity before, test drive this experiment with a colleague and evaluate unexpected potential safety hazards. Yeah, do it. If it's the first time you're doing it, don't do it the first time with the kids. Do it after school sometime and make sure there's somebody else there with you. Allow substitutions of hazardous chemical. Oh, there's a great idea. For less harmful while meeting curricular expectations. Ask if the educational value of doing, here we go again, outweighs the risks. It's all there. There it is, right there, the Big Six.
And the umbrella, of course, that goes over all of these big actions, and Ken, you'll support me on this,
Maybe.
Is that all of that safety infrastructure and engineering controls must be fully functional before you do any activity. For example, if the eye wash is not working, you cannot use chemicals in that laboratory. There are no activities happening. That is a serious violation and a big concern.
And I've heard administrators say, oh, don't worry, you'll be held harmless. Oh, I don't have enough, I couldn't buy enough safety goggles or glasses. Oh, don't worry, you'll be held harmless. Well, first of all, yeah, that guy or gal really cares about their kids and their school and their staff. No. The problem for the teacher is, again, remember I said legally, they're the ones that's in charge of determining if the lab is safe or not. All right. If you go ahead and do laboratory work, not having the appropriate amount of PPE, and a kid gets blinded or injured in their eyes, whatever, you're it big time. You say, no, I cannot carry it on. And don't let them threaten you. Go to your union. And if that doesn't work, you can go to the local fire marshal. You can go to OSHA. There's a lot of places. And worst comes to worst, go to your own lawyer. It's because you will be it if something happens. And you have every right to say, no, I'm not doing any hands-on thing. And that's a big problem for especially a high school, because the guidance department has to confirm that student, depending what university or college they're going to, has to confirm certain number of credits in laboratory science. In other words, doing hands-on activities. And of course, if you're not doing them, there's a problem. There's a problem. So you might want to remind them of that.
Yes, reminders. I like that term.
Critical questions. All right. You have a chemical hygiene plan. You have a hazard communication standard plan. Now, if you're in a laboratory, generally you're under OSHA lab standard. However, when you're dealing with hazardous chemicals elsewhere, like in art, tech ed engineering, even facilities, whatever, you're under HAZCOM. Now, a lot of HAZCOM does roll into the laboratory standard, but your school district is required to have written plans for both, right? The laboratory standard and the hazard communication standard. Are your STEAM teachers, administrators, supervisors appropriately safety trained? Notice, administrators, supervisors are in there also. Do your schools complete annual laboratory classroom instructional space safety inspections? Do your schools use student safety acknowledgement forms? Is there adequate and appropriate PPE in each? Adequate and appropriate, yeah. In other words, do you have enough goggles and or glasses? All right. Not that you can substitute one for the other in every case. You can't, especially with liquid. Do you have an accurate and current chemical and equipment inventory for your schools? And are you comfortable with existing safety programs in your school district, knowing you could be personally accountable? In other words, legal issues.
Mm-hmm. And those are very real questions that need to be asked.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have the answer, that's also okay. There are organizations that can help you solve all of these, but these are requirements. This is not stuff that's just made up. This is all regulatory compliance.
It's not a recommendation. Again,
Very good, not
legal.
a recommendation.
Risk mitigation 101. Complete the initial, secondary, and tertiary safety assessments, plan laboratory class instructional space activities. Educators need to know what to look for so that potential safety hazards and resulting health and safety risk affecting potentially dangerous situations can be evaluated from an informed educated perspective. All right. Do your homework. That's the bottom line. Do your homework. Get the background and know. And don't be shy about asking if you don't know. I'm more impressed with a newbie that said, geez, you know, I never had this. Can you help me out? And that says, oh yeah, I know all that stuff. No problem. Okay, that makes me nervous. Nobody knows all that stuff. As many decades that I care to mention that I've been involved in safety, every day I learn at least one new thing, right? It's evolving, and sometimes, like I said, it's evolutionary, but sometimes even revolutionary. You cannot make school STEAM programs safe, but you can make them safer with appropriate safety qualification training and awareness about potential safety hazards and resulting health and safety risks in your instructional space.
Thank you, Ken. That was you and me a couple months ago at the NCELA conference. That was a great quote.
If you say so ourselves.
All right. Now,
Up to you.
we have arrived. It's
Ah.
now time for questions for you and I. You feel free to ask us absolutely anything. Feel free to post that into the chat box. And Dr. Roy and myself are here to answer your questions. Let me see here. Oh, Dr. Ken, you will like this one. This one is all for you.
Oh, thanks.
How do I determine the occupancy load of my laboratory? I'll let you answer that one. That's perfect.
Okay, first of all, you need the total square footage, your length times the width, or depending on the shape, whatever, your total square footage. Then you're going to determine all the furniture, the counters, anything that's in there that's taking up space. You determine how much area each one has, all right? How much area each one has. You sum up those areas and you subtract it from the total perimeter that we said originally that you did for the lab. Once you get that figure, you divide it by 50. That is the occupancy load. That's not the class size. That is the occupancy load. In other words, how many occupants legally you can have in that laboratory, right? That's the bottom line. And again, usually, you can do it that way, but you can also get it on the prints or whatever you have from the architect that's available Normally, again, over 90% of them, they do have the occupancy load that was approved by your fire marshal.
All right.
There you have it.
Oh, you're getting a follow-up question. A follow-up question to that is, what is the difference between a science, and I use this, classroom versus a science lab? I guess, how do you determine which is which?
Yeah, usually the laboratory has laboratory type tables or stations, whatever. You have, each student has, you've got a sink, you've got gas possibly, where you can do formal experimentation, right? That's the way I will state it. You can do formal experimentation. Now, again, but the bottom line is here, you also have the equipment, the materials, the tools, et cetera, et cetera. A classroom generally has desks, right? Number
Okay.
one, they have simple desks and chair or student armchairs, whatever. You generally do not have every student, every few students having their own sinks, their hot and cold water, gas heat sources, all this type of stuff. But that does not prevent certain types of activities from taking place in that classroom. So it's not to say that there's no experimentation going on. More than likely, there might be demonstrations going on. You might have a demo desk in the front of the classroom. But there are, depending on the coursework, there are certain types of things that you can do at a desk as opposed to a large table that you would have in a laboratory.
All right. Thank you very much for your answer. There's two more questions if you have time.
Do it.
Okay. Do it. My school district chemical hygiene officer retired in 2021 and there is no replacement. Should I apply for that job? Okay, well, Ken, you are a chemical hygiene officer. I'll let you answer that one.
Number one, you do have a chemical hygiene officer. Unfortunately, he or she doesn't know that they're the chemical hygiene officer, more than likely. OSHA states it's the CEO. In other words, your superintendent of schools, if he or she does not appoint a chemical hygiene officer, they serve temporarily as the chemical hygiene officer and have that responsibility, which causes me to shiver when I think about it.
Regardless of their experience, education, and understanding of responsible chemical management, they are indeed a chemical hygiene officer.
Now, should you be the chemical hygiene officer? Well, let me say, it depends in part on your experience, your academic preparation, your interest, your willingness to be able to have some sleepless nights, once in a while, not often, but sometimes that happens. But seriously, if you're committed to safety and you've got like a chemistry background or even a biology background primarily, I'm not going to say that the physics background wouldn't help. In fact, that's how I became a safety officer, as I mentioned before, is because I had both. I had the chemistry and the physics, which was, I find, is perfect kind of a background to have. And I just built in the biological over time and it worked out fine. And it's a personal choice. It is a personal choice, but just be aware and make sure you know what you're getting into. Make sure that you have a contract or something in writing as to exactly job description. That would be perfect. And you can get that from, oh, wait a minute, Science, Safety, and Corporate.
Yes, you can. Of course you can.
Yeah, of course you can. And I would urge you to make sure, and if they don't have it, you present them your job description and make sure they sign something agreeing to it. And oh, by the way, you also should be compensated, as far as I'm concerned, just like a sports advisor or, whatever. And it depends on where you are in the country. I doubt you're going to get a car or I doubt you're going to get a trip to Aruba, but usually it's, I'll be honest with you, it's usually several $1,000s. And sometimes there's summer work that you would get paid extra for, most certainly. In some instances, they would reduce your teaching load. If, for example, if you normally have 4 laboratory science courses, they would reduce it so you have 3. And then that additional period you use for that, they would do away with your supervision period. I mean, you kind of find all kinds of things. What one are you comfortable with? Which one do you want? You've got to advocate for yourself. I mean, that's the bottom line. But one of them is certainly, one other thing, make sure that you are insured by the school district. If there's
I
an
was just
accident,
going to bring that liability insurance up. Yes, errors and
make
omissions.
sure you have liability, and I'm talking $1 million+ liability, and you should also have personal liability, professional liability insurance in addition to the school one. So consider that.
All right, very good. Thank you for that answer, Dr. Ken. And here is the last question. I think it's more of a statement looking for your reaction, to be honest.
Oh,
Our school district makes us watch a 10-minute video in August before we start the school year. They call that appropriate safety training for the year. In your opinion, do you think that's accurate? I know what I would say.
hopefully you can spell N-O.
Yeah,
That's absurd. That's absolutely absurd. All right. They are not meeting the needs of the staff or the students by having this. No, I haven't seen it, but I've never seen it. I mean, you're talking 1, 2, 3 hours of training to start. That
minimum.
is to start.
Yeah.
And like I said, you should at department meetings have some safety training, have it on the agenda every time.
Progressive.
On it goes. It should be ongoing. It should not be just once the beginning of the year and that's it. No, it's just like when you train students, you're training at the beginning of the year with everything. And then before you do any lab, any demo, you review the appropriate safety applications. They should be ashamed of themselves.
Agreed. I support that answer, Dr. Ken.
Well,
Well-
thank you, James. I appreciate hearing that.
Even though I'm right about the hazards, that's all I'm going to say.
Moving right along.
Yeah, moving right along. Well, everyone, thank you so much. We went a few minutes over, but I hope it was as beneficial for you as it was for both Dr. Ken and myself. Realistically, having a complete comprehensive safety program really does not exist because it's always evolving. There's always things that you need to do. You can't have a chemical hygiene plan and never look at it again. It needs to be reviewed annually. All of those different aspects that Ken talked about need to be looked at continuously. Nothing operates in isolation. And with all the new teachers coming on board and teachers retiring, there is some knowledge transfer that's not happening. So it is incumbent on all of us right now to make those schools safer. And as Dr. Ken pointed out, training is probably the #1 mechanism to make that happen. Dr. Ken, do you have any final words, final thoughts for us tonight before we bid adieu?
Well, I just happened to, and I said I wouldn't repeat myself, but I'm going to. Just remember, safety is job 1.
Stay safer.
Don't
Thanks,
forget
Dr. Ken. Stay safer. Love the punch tonight. That was a good one. Thank you, everyone, and we will be in touch shortly. Enjoy your summer vacations. They are well deserved. Thanks so much.
Take care. Have a safer evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.